You boys be quiet down there!
Welcome back to BB Reviews, a presentation of Basement Brothers. I'm Neo Alec, and today we're reviewing the new 2D Sonic the Hedgehog game, Sonic Mania. Sonic Mania was developed by Headcanon and Pagoda West Games, with former fan game developer Christian Whitehead as lead programmer.
The intent was to bring back the fun of the original games that made the blue blur so popular. What? Blue blur. That's one of the things we used to call Sonic back in the 90s. If you don't remember that, then you definitely don't remember Welko Metat Henex Televal.
For our review, Mr. Jakes played the PlayStation 4 version, Sturat played it on the Nintendo Switch, and I played the Xbox One version, using the fragile Xbox One D-pad. The terrible quality of this pad is well known. I broke my second Xbox One controller while playing this, so I finally resorted to just using the analog stick to play this game. You heard me right, I used an analog stick to play a 2D game.
It would be impossible to review this game without making some people unhappy. On one side, you've got purists who get upset anytime a game gets outsourced to less experienced developers. And on the other, there are people who are really excited to see work from the fan community elevated in an official release. I tend to side with the purists, but I was pleasantly surprised by Sonic Mania.
The stages are a mix of redesigned classic stages and brand new ones. Just like in Sonic 3 and Knuckles, you can choose to play as Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, or Sonic and Tails together. I think the level designers had a very good understanding of what made the classic Sonic levels fun. The new stages are as big as the Sonic 3 stages or larger, and they have plenty of intertwining routes and secrets to be discovered. Lots of new gimmicks have been created for you and Sonic to figure out in each level, just like in the classic games.
If you love playing the 16-bit Sonic games and you want to play them re-edited into a new game, you will probably enjoy this. I love the way the new elements are introduced into classic levels, and elements from multiple games are mashed together, like pieces from Quartz Quadrant added to Lava Reef, Death Egg in Flying Battery, or Wacky Workbench in Chemical Plant. It's a ton of fun to play through familiar zones with different layouts and new gimmicks.
More than half the stages aren't new concepts, just mostly new layouts. And most of the enemies are reused from previous games. Based on the earlier previews I saw of Sonic Mania, I was under the impression that there would be more original stages in this game. With so much reused content, I was expecting the game to be really long, but there are only 12 stages, plus an extra stage if you manage to collect all of the Chaos Emeralds. Sonic 3 and Knuckles was probably longer, and although that was two full-priced games, at least that was all new original content. How many people does it take to rip a bunch of sprites from old games and package it up all nice anyway?
The changes aren't all for the better. Some of the additions to the backgrounds make them look too busy, and occasionally it's hard to tell what is an obstacle, a platform, or just scenery. Some of the color combinations clash, especially in original levels like Titanic Monarch and Press Garden. Also, why is there a level with the theme of a garden printing press? The animation mixes elements from multiple games surprisingly well, although there are some new animations that look a little too rubbery to me, and some frames have awkwardly jagged curves or inconsistent line thickness. I know the original games weren't perfect, and this game is very true to the source material overall, but every now and then something looks a bit off. In Mirage Saloon Zone, there are giant piano keys Sonic can hit. He strikes the same key twice in succession, yet he produces two clearly different tones. I mean, what are we, to believe this is some sort of a magic piano or something?
I enjoyed all of the little nods to other Sonic games, especially Sonic CD. There's even a boss that makes Game Gear noises. The bosses can get a bit crazy, which is to say difficult and lengthy. Plus, every stage has a boss now, rather than only the final stage of each zone.
One thing I found that seems to be a lot easier in this game is juggling the goalposts. I don't remember it being quite this easy to endlessly juggle them in any of the previous games that had this. You can keep juggling them indefinitely if you're interested in slowly getting enough points for a 1-up. It doesn't take long before I get bored and start intentionally juggling the goal more wildly or just letting the damn thing drop intentionally. I think this could have been more fun if they had departed a bit from the classic games, made the juggling more difficult, and changed the scoring system so that the bonuses become increasingly valuable the longer you manage to keep the juggle going.
I also encountered some bugs, although I've triggered similar glitches in the original games, so you could argue that this game is so reverent to its source material that even the bugs are nostalgic. The game is a little easier than its predecessors. Checkpoints are more frequent and shields are plentiful. In my first playthrough, I never died from bottomless pits or drowning, which kept frustration low, but the majority of my deaths occurred when Sonic was crushed between moving objects, which is not ideal. The pacing is different from previous Sonic games. You only need 25 rings to open bonus stages at the checkpoints, so nearly half of my time was spent in the bonus stages.
Sonic 3's bonus stages are back exactly as they were, but with new stage layouts. I know these stages could be hard in Sonic 3, but most of the stage layouts here are even harder, and it might be my imagination, but the delay of the PS4 controller seems to only make matters worse. I try to press left or right before I hit the grid lines in order to make sure I turn, but my timing keeps getting screwed up as the stage gets faster and faster. I'm sure I can get better at these with practice, but so far I've only managed to clear one of these stages.
Some of the maps in Sonic Mania feel like player-created maps that would not have made it into the final product from an established Japanese studio.
I really like the new 3D bonus stages in this game, though I still really suck at them. The idea of collecting power-ups in order to go faster and faster while chasing an object turns out to be a fun one, and one that fits the Sonic universe well. The concept feels like an interesting mix of inspiration from the bonus stages of Sonic CD with the bonus stages of Sonic 2. I think the music is excellent overall. The new music sounds just as great as the remixes of classic tunes.
I do like the music, although most of the classic music isn't changed enough and retains a surprising amount of the sound from the Mega Drive's Yamaha sound chip. I'm sure this was the intention of composer T. Lopez, but the point I'm making here is that Sonic Mania borrows from the best of what has already been created. For example, the music from the first act of Chemical Plant uses the original bass and percussion from Sonic 2.
If I had to make one nitpick about the music, I think the chiptune sounds they occasionally use sound a bit confused. Though most of the sounds sound like Genesis like they should, here in the opening sequence we have what obviously sounds like an NES-like sound. This doesn't fit with Sonic in my opinion. However, speaking of the opening sequence, I really like how the background seems to be inspired by the Japanese cover art for the original Mega Drive games.
I enjoyed this game and I would recommend it to most Sonic fans, but I would be concerned if this is the beginning of a trend where sequels to classic games get outsourced to the fan community. This game turned out well, but I consider myself more of a fan of the people who made Sonic the Hedgehog than of Sonic the character, and I would be concerned if companies started cashing in on fans' goodwill by selling them outsourced rehashes produced by the lowest bidder. Hopefully, Sega sees the demand for another classic-style Sonic game and next time decides to do the dirty work themselves.
Overall, my opinion is that Sonic Mania is a lot of fun, and definitely accomplishes its goal of bringing back the fun of the original games. Honestly, I don't think that any team at Sega right now could have done as good a job as the dedicated fans who made this game.
If you like the 16-bit Sonic games, you may like this, because it's more of the same. However, Sonic Mania isn't the original, it is merely an imitation. There's just too much reused here, so you have to give credit to the developers of the original games. What's more, the developers of 16-bit Sonic had to work within the limitations of the Mega Drive Genesis hardware, whereas this game simply runs on everything, with the hardware not being an issue. There's something inauthentic about that. Sonic Mania simply imitates what we remember, and it does a damn good job of it. Perhaps even surpassing the original in some ways. But that's easy to do with the benefit of hindsight. Christian Whitehead is standing on the shoulders of giants.
In the end, both Sonic Mania's greatest strength and weakness are that it is a fan-developed game. It isn't as polished or creative as the classic games it was based on, but even if it doesn't necessarily improve on the source material, it certainly is fun to return to Sonic in a manic remix.
If you enjoyed this BB review, then we'd really appreciate it if you'd give us a like and leave us a comment below. We're still a new channel and it really helps us a lot. And if you really liked it, please feel free to share this video and subscribe to Basement Brothers. We've got plenty of content centering on games from the 80s and 90s, with more on the way, so stay tuned and thanks for watching.